Welcome to another Compassion Works for All video. And I bet if you are any place in the world and I said we are making this video today because of concerns of another mass shooting or mass killing, you could be anywhere in the world and you would be thinking, yes, there was a mass killing in my city or my country, and we are all concerned and brokenhearted and hate all of the times people seem to take a weapon of some kind, maybe a gun or a knife, and attack others. And then we look at all the other crimes, the other times of violence and suffering that someone causes. Maybe it's a rape or child abuse or kidnapping or abuse in one's own family. And we think, why do people do such terrible things? And how can we stop it? How can we find an answer? And we look at the issues of guns and other weapons. We look at the issue of people going to prison or to jail. But maybe we need to keep going back to when the signs were there that someone had the potential to do such things, to when someone showed signs of rage and violence. Sometimes there are family incidences where people stay in a family with somebody who's violent, and perhaps there are children and they don't take the children to a safe place. They don't get away from the violent person at the first signs of danger. Sometimes I see families where a child is physically or sexually abused for years and years, and the other person or people in the family, grandparents or a mother, say, well, I never knew that that was happening. And yet, signs were there, and people didn't pay attention. How many young men, particularly young men, show signs of mental illness and violence that has a component of rage. And then when they go out and kill others in a mass killing, people say, well, I never thought that they would act on those feelings. We all must be good observers and learn how to start the process when the first signs of violence are seen. If we're a parent of a child Oftentimes those signs of violence are seen when a child is 4 or 5 or 6. It's not just normal anger when children torture animals or abuse other children or are bullies. It's time to consider what is happening to this child. And if we're in a relationship where a partner starts to become violent, maybe they had hints, but then they got worse, it's time to leave and get help, especially if there's children. It doesn't necessarily mean a divorce, but it means go to a safe place. Don't think that it's just one time and they will do better because they apologized and said they'll never do it again. Take action when the first violence starts and then get therapy or help to see if things can be healed. As someone who works in prisons, I see a lot of people that had healthy lives and then all of a sudden something happened and their life changed and they became violent and they hurt someone or killed someone, and other people had no clue that this would happen. Sometimes it's teenagers that have a propensity for mental illness and violence, and then when puberty comes, they become violent with hormonal changes. Or when greater stress comes as they face their adult life, or they might change their friends and begin to hang out in gangs or with other kids that are doing drugs and alcohol. And the introduction of drugs and alcohol brings out a violent rage that has been under the surface. And sometimes people very strangely commit a crime in their sleep when they're sleepwalking. And sometimes it's because they've been taking a medication. I have seen many times when people began medication, an antidepressant or a steroid or other medications, that all of a sudden they have a personality change, or they become psychotic or paranoid or violent. If you live with somebody and love somebody who begins a new medication and all of a sudden they're different, call the doctor and get help immediately. For every single one of these horrible events, there was somebody who saw the signs before the event happened. There was somebody who could track at age 4 or 5 or 10 or 15, or with a new medication, or with illness or a rising depression. There is somebody who saw somebody slipping away into new behaviors, new thinking, rage, who alienated themselves from others, who wouldn't talk anymore, who wouldn't share anymore. We can act in ways that may be hard, but to win their confidence and start getting help. But we have to start early, because if they're in the trauma or in the event, then it's much harder to change the pathway that they are walking down. And sometimes people don't realize for themselves that change is happening if they have an illness or a brain tumor, or if they're drinking too much gradually, or they begin a new medication, or they start taking drugs that they've not taken before. recreational drugs, or if they have a great stress or trauma that they haven't resolved, they don't know how different they are. Be gentle, be kind, win their confidence, start a dialogue, get them to a doctor, get them help. Sometimes it means a hospital admission. Convince a judge or a doctor of what you see. If we watch out for each other and help those who go into these episodes of great distress where they may not even know how much harm they're causing to themselves and their loved ones and others, they need our help. And loving others means helping them in times of distress. And then there are those times when it's impossible to do anything. And then we forgive ourselves and everybody else involved, and we start again. Thank you for watching all of our Compassion Works for All videos.